Morning, DFSArmy. It's Craig Ben, aka Cash Cake, here for another NBA First Look podcast for Wednesday, February 10th, 2021. We have a nice 9-game slate on our hands. Lots of news and injuries to go through. Again, I will always be using DraftKings as the backdrop and build the lineups, but I did get some feedback that people would like me to do a sample FanDuel lineup as well. So after I'm done going through all the games at the end of this video, I will put together a sample FanDuel lineup as well for you guys. I want to get that feedback and give you guys what you guys are asking for. So with that feedback, I will do that. So if you like this video, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications so you know when I post these videos, and let's dive right into this bad boy today. Again, DraftKings as the backdrop here. We will start right in on this. First game, Toronto at Washington. No total on this game. Big news, OG Anunoby is questionable on Toronto. Lowry is probable, and Westbrook is probable as well on the Washington side. So on the Toronto side, the big news for me is going to be OG Anunoby. If he is unable to go, Norman Powell will slide in there and be a good option. More so on FanDuel at 6,300. On DraftKings at 6,800 is not something that I really want to pay for. But, he's never owned enough, and, 0.85 fantasy points per minute on the season. He's 35, 32, 26, 37 over his last 4, but the minutes are there. I love the minutes when OG is out. But again, I don't think it's a great tag on DraftKings when Lowry is just 500 more. But on FanDuel, I think it's a really good tag on him. Van Vliet, 8,600 on DraftKings. Over there on FanDuel, Van Vliet is 9,300. Again, really expensive. 1.15 fantasy points per minute on the season. But I don't think that I'm going to pay that tag for him. Siakam, 8,300 on DraftKings. Over here on FanDuel, Siakam is sitting at 9,400. Again, priced way up. Really hard to get there when guys are priced at that point. So I don't think I'm going to land on these guys. Tournaments only. Lowry is an interesting case, though. But I guess you could play any of these guys in tournaments on DraftKings. Just on FanDuel, they're just overpriced. I can't pay that. But Lowry's a case. 7,300 on DraftKings, 7,600 on FanDuel, about a fantasy point per minute. I don't mind him on both sites. I think it's a fair tag on him if you wanted to play him. Again, Washington's horrendous defensive team. So I have no problem if you want to play some Lowry here. And then the other guy is Chris Boucher, 5,900 on DraftKings, 6K on FanDuel. His minutes have been trending up. Just looking at his last, few games, 29, 33, and 27, putting up 33, 49, and 32 DraftKings points. Very, very nice. 1.29 fantasy points per minute on the season. I have no problem jumping on him on either site. Just center only on DraftKings is rough on big slates because usually there's a lot of centers I want to play. But the nice thing on FanDuel, he is power forward eligible. And the guy's got 50-point upside around this range. You're going to want a piece of him. So guys that we can definitely look at, no problem at all. But again, I think I'm looking at more Lowry and Boucher just at point per dollar here. Let's go over to the Washington side. Again, Westbrook is back, so it kind of takes the, the guys that we really want, and Beal at 9,300 on DraftKings, 10-6 on FanDuel. I don't think you can pay that with Beal around here. With Westbrook around here. When both of them are there, I don't think we're going to get the ceilings. Westbrook is 9,700 on FanDuel, 8,400 on DraftKings makes it interesting play. 42, 18, 50, and 37 against Brooklyn. So there's some meat left on the bone with Westbrook, even going up against Toronto. I have no problem playing him. And Beal, I guess, in tournaments on DraftKings, but not so much on FanDuel. Again, 10-6 with Westbrook there. I just don't think he hits a ceiling. If we look at Davis Bertans, 4,200 on FanDuel. He is priced at 4,600 on DraftKings. Again, pure shooter, just going to shoot threes. 21 and 38 minutes against Chicago. The minutes aren't going to be massive for him, and Westbrook coming back is going to hurt his usage. I guess just more of a FanDuel play, but really, I don't love a lot of these guys on here. It's basically Westbrook for me. I'm not going to look at Rui at 5.5. I'm not going to get on the Alex Lynn train. I don't want any part of that. So when Westbrook gets back, it kind of screws this whole thing up. I guess you could look at Rui a little bit on FanDuel at that small forward position at 5,300, but no one that I'm actually in love with here. Let's head on over to Atlanta at Dallas. Dallas favored by 4.5, 233 over under. Rajon Rondo is out, Chris Dunn is out, and Bogdanovich is out as well for Atlanta. Trae Young, $9,900 on DraftKings. Definitely not getting a discount on him. Over on FanDuel, he is 10-1. Squarely in play against Dallas. Dallas does not play defense. He's been a 1.25 fantasy point per minute here. So you kind of have to, consider him in tournaments going up against Dallas because they're not a good team. Clint Capella, 8,600 on DraftKings. Over here on FanDuel, he's 8,300. I think someone you can consider, but again, I've mentioned this the last few videos that I've done. The minutes are just not there for Capella. 29, 27, 30, 30. He did put up 52 against Toronto, but then before that, 28, 39, and 42. 8,600, you're going to need a 50 spot out of him. Again, the matchup is good against Dallas. I think he's fine. I just think I'm going to get there with the minutes that he is playing because he has to be super efficient to get there at price. Kevin Huerter, $5K on FanDuel is a fantastic price. 5,600 on DraftKings. Should continue to play a boatload of minutes. 37, 34, 38, and 39 over his last four, putting up 30, 26, 48, and 21. I think he's squarely in play here over on DraftKings and FanDuel. I have no problem playing him. We might slide him into this lineup just looking at price. We can always change this later, but that's just a good price for him. And again, not having Bogdanovich around or Rondo, he's going to play some minutes. So I don't mind playing him at all at that tag. John Collins, 7K on FanDuel, 7,500 on DraftKings. He's been the one that's been picking it up a little bit with the minutes. Capella's minutes have went down a little bit, and John Collins' minutes have went up. So 34, 32, 40, and 35 over his last four. 39, 31, 53, and 31 fantasy points. At 7,500, I just think there's a little bit more meat left on the bone than there is playing Capella. So on FanDuel especially, Kevin Huerter and John Collins are extremely cheap and guys that we can look at jumping on at point per dollar. So no problem at playing those guys at all. I think it's a pretty decent tag on those guys. And again, on DraftKings, I think they're in play as well. It's not someone that I'm trying to force in my lineups, but at price, someone that we can definitely consider. Over on that's about it for me. I don't want any Gallinari, Reddish. On a slate this large, I'm not going to look there. It's just basically the top four here. I don't need a dumpster dive on slates this large. Over on the Dallas side, Luka Doncic 10-8. Over on FanDuel, he is priced at 10-9. Again, going to be super popular. Going up against Atlanta, pace-up matchup for Luka. Probably going to be one of your cash plays, honestly. We're going to have value on a 9-game slate. It is what it is, and you're going to play a lot of stars and scrubs. It's just that's these big slates. That's what it lands itself on. Again, great matchup. 35% usage, which is insane, averaging 35 minutes a game. 1.49 fantasy points per minute. I don't need to go on and on about Luka. Porzingis, 8,700 on FanDuel, 8,600 on DraftKings. Just put up a 60 spot, the other day against Minnesota in 31 minutes. It's still tough to trust him at this price tag. I still can't do it. The matchup against Atlanta is not bad. However, my biggest issue is just those minutes. I don't think he's going to play massive minutes. And he got that 61. 5 of those were blocks. And 27 and 13. So I still think we're going to see around the 40s. I need at least a 50 spot out of him. If he didn't get those blocks, he got just around 50. So I have no problem not chasing those big points and think he only puts up around 40, 45, which I don't think is enough at price. And then the other guys, Josh Richardson's definitely in play. He can get it done, plays massive minutes as well. Don't mind him. Tim Hardaway Jr., I don't mind him. 5,200 on FanDuel, 5,400 on DraftKings. Richardson's 5,200 on DraftKings and 5K on FanDuel. More just secondary plays, more that I think we don't have to go there. I'm going to throw Luka in this lineup, but we can change some things around if we get there later in the as we go through these teams. So let's jump over to the next game. We have Indy at Brooklyn. Kevin Durant is still out, so no Kevin Durant here. So we know it's going to be Harden and Irving. So as I just throw Luka in here, I'm like, well, crap. Now what do we got to do here? Now Brooklyn's on a back-to-back. They ended up losing last night. But James Harden, 10-6 on FanDuel. And we might have enough value to play both Harden and Luka on FanDuel. Generally, we have enough value to get there like that. On DraftKings, it's tough to play two studs like that unless we have quite a few 4K guys that we do like, because as you can see, you throw Luka in there and it really hinders your lineup. So I'm sorry, let's start on the Brooklyn side. So 10-4 for Harden on DraftKings, 10-6 on FanDuel. Kyrie Irving, 9,500 on FanDuel, 9,100 on DraftKings. You might be able to get away with throwing Kyrie Irving in these lineups instead of Harden. I still think I prefer Harden in those massive assist numbers that he's been putting up. He's averaged double-digit assists, I think, almost every game that he's been with them. Had 12 last night, 62 fantasy points. 24, 12, and 6 with 5 blocks and 2 steals. Irving, on the other hand, 27 points, 7 assists, 2 rebounds in 35 minutes. He's going to be more of the scoring guy. So if you're going to take a shot, I still prefer Harden, but Irving is in play as well. You can look at Joe Harris on FanDuel at 5,100. I have no problem going there. Same thing with Jeff Green, 4,900 on FanDuel. More just secondary pieces. Jeff Green's priced up too much on DraftKings. I don't care for. But going over Joe Harris, 6K on DraftKings. Again, I don't really like that tag. So I think here, going up against Indy, you're probably just looking at Kyrie Irving or Harden. And again, if you try to throw Harden in this lineup, it really hinders you here. But we'll try it. We're going to throw Harden in as the shooting guard and go a Luka Harden lineup. Again, this is more, hopefully we can find some value to fit these guys in, but we'll try to see what we can do here. Over on the Indy side, again, they're basically healthy besides the guys that have been out for a long time with LeVert and TJ Warren. So if we go look over here, Sabonis at 8-6. We've talked about bigs going up against Brooklyn. I have no problem playing him here as well. And this is, again, where it gets tough. Do you have the money to get up to a Luka if you want to play some of these guys like Sabonis? Turner, 6K on DraftKings, 6,800 on FanDuel. Again, bigs against Brooklyn is a thing, and they've tore them up all year long. So you're probably going to want a piece of this team. Sabonis, I love. I'm probably going to have to make a choice on Luka or Harden. And this is just me walking through this with you guys. I like doing this because it kind of gets my mind right as well. But these are the decisions you have to make when you're putting lineups together. So, again, Brooklyn coming off a loss on a back-to-back. The usage is going to be massive. It's a coin flip for me right now. I'm going to just side with the cheaper Harden because I do want to put Sabonis, and I love these 8,600 here. And I like the correlation of going back-to-back with guys like that, because if it stays close and you want somebody against Brooklyn, they give up a ton of points, man. Detroit, man, if you looked, I talked about it, Plumlee. Hopefully you played Grant. He put up a massive spot. And I think the third one is DeLon Wright. So all those 3 guys smashed. And I think we're going to continue to see. I think you can continue to play a couple guys here. So again, over on the Indy side, Brogdon is 7,400, 7,200 on FanDuel, way too cheap. I have no problem running Brogdon with him here. Now, like I said, with having Jeremy Lamb back, the shots kind of go down. So over his last, few games, he hasn't really shot the ball real well. The shots have kind of been there, but the minutes have been down a little bit with Lamb coming back. It kind of screws things up, but he still has upside. But he shot 35, 40, 29% over his last 3 games. So if he can break out of this at this price, we haven't got Brogdon this cheap in a long time. So that's a guy that we can consider throwing in our lineups. If you want to look at a Jeremy Lamb, though, like I said, I always like him because he's small forward eligible over here on DraftKings. 5,400 over on FanDuel, he's 5,600, so you get a little bit of a discount here. I think he's a great tournament option. 14 fantasy points in his last game against Utah. It's a bad matchup, but the Pelicans, he put up 37. Milwaukee, 5, but then again, Memphis, he put up 33. At 5,400, you love that tag. So if you're going to look for a secondary indie piece for me on DraftKings, it's probably Jeremy Lamb or Brogdon. That's where I'd be landing right now. Again, I have a hard time playing Turner. If I play Sabonis, I don't think Turner has a big game. So I would kind of limit it there. Justin Holiday's always in play, especially against Brooklyn. 5,300 on FanDuel, 5,500 on DraftKings. 26, 43, 34 over his last three. He plays massive minutes, so I don't blame you there. I think I want at least two indie guys in this lineup. I'm gonna, just because of small forward eligibility, I'm gonna put Lamb in this lineup. But again, I think you can easily run Brogdon if you want to as well, or look at Holiday. But I'm gonna lean to Lamb here, just because of how bad Brooklyn is, and again, coming on a back-to-back, I don't think that we need to get too crazy here. So I think we're going to look at that piece there. And again, on FanDuel, Sabonis and Brogdon are probably my two favorite at price there. Brogdon down to 7,200 is just too cheap. Let's head on over to the next game where we get Charlotte at Memphis. Memphis favored by 4, 226 over under. Devontae Graham is out. Brandon Clark is out. Melton is out. And there's when we get on the Memphis side, there's definitely going to be some guys that we could look at here. But let's start on the Charlotte side with Devontae Graham being out. We should see a ton of ball here. He is priced at 8,500 on DraftKings. If we go look at his price over on FanDuel, he is priced at 8,200. I think just tournament options only here. Again, Memphis, I have no problem attacking him. The minutes should be there. 32 and 30 over his last two, 50, 38, 59, 37. Massive upside with him with what he does. FanDuel, you can play him, I think, a little bit easier than you can on DraftKings. It's a little bit harder to fit him in there at that DraftKings price tag. So he'll be probably less than 10% owned on DraftKings on a slate this large. But on FanDuel, you're probably sneaking up to the 15% range just because of lineup construction and how much easier it is to get in there. So I'm not going to throw him in this lineup, but very much in play. But again, when you're getting up to guys like Sabonis and Harden, it's hard to fit guys like that. Terry Rozier, 6,200 on DraftKings, 6,100 on FanDuel. Great tag on him. Again, I don't mind playing both of them together if you wanted to go that route, because a lot of people won't do that. But over here, he's going to play a ton of minutes, 28, 39, and 33 over his last three. Again, I think he's a fair play on both sites. I have no problem playing him if you want to. It's not a guy that I'm probably going to put in this lineup, but squarely in play. Cody Zeller, 5,900 on DraftKings, only 5,200 on FanDuel. Again, going up against Joval here. No problem here. Hasn't had any big ceiling games lately, but a guy you can consider on FanDuel, not so much on DraftKings. PJ Washington, super cheap on DraftKings. 5,300 on DraftKings, 5,800 on FanDuel. But, there's upside here. He just hasn't shown it, like 15, 18, 24, 28 over his last four. But against Indy, he put up 40 and 33. He's the kind of guy that, you want a piece of in tournaments, but you don't want to go too crazy and wouldn't put him in a single lineup. So I don't think we need to go crazy here. Like I said, I think they're more FanDuel plays at price. Gordon Hayward, 7,700 on DraftKings is a no-go for me. 7,500 on FanDuel, again, very much in play. They're just, the prices on FanDuel, they're just priced down a little bit too much here. Let's head on over to the Memphis side. Joval, 7,400, 7,200 on FanDuel. I think, again, squarely in play against Charlotte. No problem playing some Joval here. Over his last couple games, coming back, he's put up 60 and 36. That's what we like to see. The points and the minutes are up. No Brandon Clark, so should get all those rebounds again. I'm going to slide him in this lineup, honestly. I think we can find the money to get to him. But it's not a must. I mean, this whole thing is not a must. But if we have to move him, we will. But I think I'm going to slide him into the center position right now. He's going to get the rebounds. The shots are going to be there. No Clark. John Morant, 7,300 on DraftKings, 7,100 on FanDuel. Another great play you can play at tournaments. Xavier Tillman, a rookie, 4,500 on FanDuel, 4,500 on DraftKings here. Gonna play decent minutes, but the production hasn't been there the last two games with Joval coming back. 7 and 18 fantasy points in 20 and 28 minutes. Again, Joval's gonna eat up a ton of usage when he's on the court with John Morant. Kyle Anderson, 5,700 on FanDuel, 5,600 on DraftKings, 30 and 39 over his last two. Again, I think this has a lot to do with no Clark. So I think you can consider him against Charlotte, very much so on both sides. I hate playing slow-mo. 1.05 fantasy points per minute, though, for the season. I think a lot of that had to do with Ja Morant, though, out a lot of these games, and they've had a lot of injuries. But at the same time, I think he can be productive even in his slow self. So he is somebody that we can consider plugging into one of these lineups. So say we want to go Kyle Anderson over a Kevin Huerter, I'm definitely fine with that. No problem plugging him in. They're the same exact price. I'm not going to throw him in this lineup, but definitely viable. Like I said, you can play. And another way we could go around this is you can, if we don't want to play Joval, what we could do is we could plow Kyle Anderson here, and then over the center position we can go back and throw in Sabonis here if we want to do this. So this is another way to do it. Again, sample lineup. Not what I'm probably doing, but I just want to give you different options as we build through things, kind of thought process on how to do it. But yeah, no problem playing any of these Memphis or Charlotte guys. Seems like on DraftKings, Memphis is the cheaper guys. Over on FanDuel, Charlotte and Memphis are the cheaper guys. So, knowing that I'm trying to throw in, but great last pieces to make a lineup work. Let's head on over to the Clippers at Minnesota. We have no total in this game either. Paul George is out. Patrick Beverley is questionable on the Clip side. Over on Minnesota, Cat is still doubtful. D-Russ is doubtful. And Culver is out. On the Clippers, as we start going through here, again, no Paul George. Kawhi Leonard's going to get all the usage he can handle here. 9,400 on DraftKings, 9,700 on FanDuel. I don't think he's going to be extremely popular on DraftKings just for the simple fact that we have these other studs on the slate, and a slate this large. He's probably going to be 15, 20% owned, which on a slate this large is pretty good. So you can play him if you wanted to play him over some of these other guys. Minnesota is horrible. He should be able to do whatever he wants to do against these guys. But even with Paul George out the last few games, 36, 51, 37, and 59. I just don't see the ceiling here. I have no problem playing him on FanDuel because it's easier to fit guys in, but I don't see the ceiling. Luke Kennard, 4,500 on FanDuel. Over here on DraftKings, he is 4,300. Put up 13 and 24 over his last two. Serge Ibaka, 5,400 on DraftKings, 5,700 on FanDuel. 19-21 over his last two. So again, Minnesota is a terrible team. You want to attack them somewhere here. Nicholas Batum, 5,100 on FanDuel. Again, a great tag for Batum there. 5,200 on DraftKings. 22 and 31 over his last two. Reggie Jackson, 5,300 on DraftKings. If Patrick Beverley is out, 5,100 on FanDuel. I would like some Reggie Jackson. Put up 27 and 31 minutes against Sacramento. So if we did see Patrick Beverley out, I do like a little bit of Reggie Jackson. Some of these other guys are going to eat. It's going to be Kawhi Leonard, Lou Williams, 5,500 on DraftKings. He is priced at 5,800 on FanDuel. Decent price on DraftKings. I always have a hard time trusting Lou. Just the minutes. If you can tell me he's going to get 30 minutes against Minnesota, I had all the love for him. 39 and 31 over his last two. Again, with no Paul George, if you're going to tell me he's going to get those minutes, I'll love him. I think we'll throw him in the sample lineup. Again, I don't absolutely love it with the minutes, but there's upside for him, and we need some of these guys in the 4 to 5K range. So great matchup. No Paul George. Hopefully he gets some more shots here. So we'll throw Sweet Lou in this lineup that we're building. Let's head on over to the Minnesota side. Again, no Cat. We got, if D-Russ is out, Beasley is 7K over on DraftKings. On FanDuel, Beasley is priced at 7,400. So he's priced up. I don't love this. I don't love any of these guys going up against the Clippers. I don't think we need to get crazy here. If D-Russ plays, 7,200 on FanDuel, 6,800 on DraftKings. He's a shooter, so I don't mind playing D-Russ a little bit, but all these other guys I don't love. Naz Reid at 6,300 on DraftKings, 5,500 on FanDuel. I guess you can make a case for Reid. Only put up 13 against Dallas, but before that, 39, 31, and 30. I just don't think it's a good matchup on a slate this large. I don't think we need to go here. It's again, Saunders and the way he runs this team. I just don't think we need to go here at all. I think it's I think there's other games that we can target and just not look at. So let's just move on to the next game. Pelicans at Chicago. 230 over under. Pelicans favored by 3. Should be some fantasy goodness in this game as well. On the Pelican side, don't really have any injuries here. The team's full. Holy Josh Hart last night, 4,300, put up 40 minutes against Houston, put up a 53 spot where he went 20 and 17. Monster game for him. At that price, I can see people going back to him and him being popular. I have no problem if you want to play him. He's not a guy that I'm going to try to shove into lineups. But, you know, at 4,300, if he's going to get those minutes, you know, he makes sense. You know, Brandon Ingram, 8,300 on DraftKings. Over here on FanDuel, he is priced at, let me pull him up real quick. Apologize. He's priced at 8,900. Again, even though it's a great matchup against the Bulls, I just don't think the ceiling's there when they're all healthy. Zion, 8,400, 8,100 on DraftKings. Like I've said a bunch of times, I don't think that the ceiling is going to be there for him. Lonzo Ball, 6,600 on DraftKings is a no-go for me. 7K on FanDuel. You know, just tournaments on FanDuel, but again, priced up and they're healthy. Bledsoe, 5,900 on DraftKings. 5,100 on FanDuel is interesting at that price tag for Bledsoe. Going up against Chicago, 21, 35, 13, and 20. Nothing that really stands out, but that tag is cheap over on FanDuel, and he's a shooting guard eligible, which is nice. So we can consider him. But knowing that I'm absolutely in love with, like I said, Josh Hart, 5,300 on DraftKings and 5,100 or 4,300 on DraftKings, 4,100 on FanDuel. With that monster game, he might draw some ownership here. And at price, if you consider it going against the Bulls, I have no problem here. So again, fully healthy team. I'd prefer the cheap guys. Maybe some Steven Adams at 5,600 on DraftKings, 5,200 on FanDuel is too cheap as well. They just don't have any bigs in the paint, so I don't mind playing a little bit of him. But I'm gonna stay away from the expensive guys. Over on Chicago, again, we got a lot of guys here that are not, you know, it's not a healthy team at all. So they should play a ton of minutes here. You know, we got no Larry Marketing, no Carter Jr., no Porter. So these guys that are out, you know, we're going to see Valentine probably continue to start. 5,300 on DraftKings is a no-go. 4,400 on FanDuel, again, way too cheap. Patrick Williams, again, 4,400 on FanDuel, way too cheap. Both very much in play. Priced up here on DraftKings, though, I don't think you need to go here at all. It's just too expensive for me for both of these guys. Patrick Williams going up against Zion, no thank you. Kobe White, 6,200 on DraftKings, 5,600 on FanDuel. Lots of value on this Bulls team on FanDuel, not so much on DraftKings. Thad Young, 6,600 on DraftKings, 6,900 on FanDuel. Now, he is expensive on FanDuel, but there's still other value here on FanDuel. Zach LaVine is 9,300 on FanDuel, 9K on DraftKings. Again, with no Lowry marketing, I've talked about it. The shots are going to go up. Look at the last couple games with no Lowry. 26, 25 shot attempts, putting up 35 and 39 real points, 48 and 55. Again, I think he's in play on both sites. I don't think you're going to get to him on DraftKings, but very much in play. On DraftKings, I would probably just lean him only at the price. Satoransky's a little interesting here. 4,400 on DraftKings, 4K on FanDuel. 23 and 27 minutes, his last two, putting up 24 and 31 fantasy points. I think we continue to see this trend up. I'm actually going to throw him in this lineup because I need a guard, and he is cheap enough. So I'm going to throw Sato in this lineup going against the Pelicans. Again, on FanDuel at 4K, no problem playing them as well. I don't think it's a must play, but I'm just looking for some values on fitting things. We might not even play Sweet Lou. We might throw Sato up here and not play Sweet Lou either, even though that matchup's great against Minnesota. We'll have to see what we have as we continue to go through here. But on DraftKings, Levine, Sato for me, maybe a little bit of White and Thad in tournaments, but not too crazy. And then on FanDuel, we have all the value in the world, like White, Valentine, Williams, Levine, all of them you can play. So at the end of this video, again, I'm going to build a sample FanDuel lineup as well, and we'll kind of see how the lineup stacks up. Let's head on to the next game here. Keep her rolling. 3 games left. Cleveland at Denver, 223 over under. Denver favored by 9.5. On the Cleveland side, no Kevin Love, no JaVale McGee. On the Denver side, no Gary Harris, no PJ Dozier still. So those are the injuries there. Again, this should not be a good matchup at all. Like I said, Denver's favored by almost double digits. It's kind of a low total. Not super excited about this matchup at all on a monster slate this size, especially on the Cleveland side. Sexton is priced down to 6,600 over on FanDuel, 7K on DraftKings. Denver's not a good defensive team, so if you want to consider a guy like him, I'm okay with it. More so on FanDuel than DraftKings because he's shooting guard eligible. Drummond's 7,700 on FanDuel, 8,300 on DraftKings. The minutes have been up a little bit more, 36, 30, and 30 over his last three. So he is at least eclipsing over that mark, but I don't think we need to go there with Jokic pulling him off the rim. So nobody that I really want to attack here on a slate this large. So overall, I'm just going to kind of fade these guys. Again, Sexton more so on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I don't really want any part of it. Let's go on the Denver side. Jokic 11K. It's one of those things where 11K on DraftKings, 11-1 on FanDuel. I don't know if the game's going to stay close enough and he'll have to actually do anything here. So when you got guys like Luka and Harden, where I think the games will stay closer and the usage is going to be there, I think Jokic is going to be in play every slate. Don't let me talk you off of him if you love him. But at price, I don't think we're going to be able to get to him. So that could make him an interesting tournament play because of it. Will Barton, 5,400. I can't really on FanDuel. Over here, 5,600 on DraftKings. Jamal Murray would be the one guy if you wanted to look at. 7K on DraftKings, 7K on FanDuel. Coming back, if he's going to play massive minutes going up against Cleveland, he could smash them at that price tag. So I do like some Murray. Porter Jr., 5,700 on DraftKings, 5,200 on FanDuel. More of a FanDuel play for me. I don't want to get super excited about playing when Murray is back, but playable. Same thing with Barton on FanDuel, playable. But again, not a game I'm attacking too much here. Let's head on over to OKC at the Lakers. We saw this game a few days ago here. Let's head on over to the injury news for this game. No total. Mike Muscala is out. Theo Maledon is out. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is out. Isaiah Roby is in today, so he's probable. On the Lake Show, AD is questionable. Caruso is questionable, and LeBron James is probable. Let's start on the OKC side. If we don't have any... if we are not going to have any Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Diallo's going to have to play a ton of minutes. He's 6,500 on both sides. Very much in play here. I think he's just going to play massive minutes. Like, I can't see him not playing a ton of minutes. Really hard not to play him here on both sides. Even going up against the Lakers in a bad matchup, I think he's going to play a ton of minutes. So, mid-30s minutes for a guy that's around... what is he fantasy points per minute? He's been a 1.06, and that's probably an uptick once we take Shai off as well, if I run the numbers. But yeah, on both sides, no problem. Diallo's a point guard on FanDuel, which is a little odd. Don't like that. I wish he was a shooting guard. But over here on DraftKings, again, 6,500. It's priced up, but again, he should be doing about everything here. I'm going to take Sweet Lou out of this lineup. I'm going to put Diallo here. I'm going to go back to the Bulls real quick and put Sato in this thing. So bear with me real quick. Throw Sato in it. Go back to the OKC side. Again, Horford 6,200 is going to be shooting a ton. 6,200 on both sides. Again, I have no problem playing him on both sides. If we think this game is going to stay close, they should do something. Baisley at 6,100 on DraftKings. Over on FanDuel at a 6,500 tournament option. Roby, though, at 5K on FanDuel. Love that tag. Even if this thing gets out of control, he's going to play a lot of minutes on the bigs. 3,700 on DraftKings is way too cheap here. I think we might. We just don't have the money for him in this lineup. We're going to figure something out here. So I want to play some Roby. Power forward, center eligible. I think we're going to take Slow-Mo out. We're going to throw Roby in this lineup. That's just too cheap for him. Like I said, even if it's a blowout, he's still going to see minutes. So we're going to throw him in this lineup. We're on a Diallo Roby stack in this with 5,400 left. So see you, Slow-Mo. Get in the boot. You ain't going to be in my lineup. Yeah, take a shot on a lot of these guys. We're going to need the news here, but Dort, 4,300 on DraftKings, or 4,300 on FanDuel, 4,400 on DraftKings. Man, I cannot speak this morning. Again, I think he is in play as well. Kendrick Williams is a little too priced up on DraftKings at 4,700, but 4,500 on FanDuel. I think he's in play in tournaments as well. If they're going to sit anybody in this game, if it gets out of control, it's going to be Horford. Again, he's just an older guy. All these other guys would still play minutes, so I wouldn't be worried about all these other guys. They're shorthanded. You're probably going to want a few in your lineup. I would say that, even though going against the Lakers. Again, LeBron James 10-2 over on DraftKings. Not sure a lot of people are going to get to him. Again, we don't have a total in this game, but if AD sits, I think you got to consider him, if it's going to be a close game. AD is 9,800 on FanDuel, 9,500 on DraftKings. If they both play, man, I don't want to play Horford and I don't want to play AD or LeBron James because they should just smash him here. If one of them are out, definitely consider LeBron James here. Montrezl Harrell, 5,400 on FanDuel, 5,600 on DraftKings. If AD is out, we can look at Kuzma's 5,700 on DraftKings, a little expensive. But over on FanDuel, 5,500, you can consider him. We just need this Anthony Davis news if he's going to play or not. So if he plays, again, easy fade for me for the Lakers. And on OKC, I still want some Roby because he's good value. He's going to play regardless. So I would want Roby first. And then I think Diallo is still going to play regardless as well. So I don't mind Diallo, even though that price tag is up. Not a must play, but a guy I would look just on the OKC side. Let's head on over to Milwaukee at Phoenix. No total here on the Phoenix side. No Jay Crowder, no Chris Paul, no Abdul Nader. Nader's questionable, Crowder's questionable, Paul is questionable. Saric is out and Payne is out. So a lot of stuff going over on this Phoenix game. Again, we don't have a total in this. Looking at this, let me refresh this one more time just to make sure that there's no total popped up. And yeah, we do not have a total for this game. Milwaukee should be able to do whatever they want here. This is not a game that I'm excited about playing either. No, I apologize. We do got a total here. It's 224 over under. It looks like Milwaukee's favored by 4. That is interesting. Giannis is 10-9 on FanDuel, 10-6 on DraftKings. Again, FanDuel play for sure. You can play some studs. Should be able to do whatever he wants up against Phoenix. The big piece here is, Drew Holiday is going to be out for a little while here. So Chris Middleton at 7,600 on FanDuel is going to be a staple. 7,900 on DraftKings. Put up a monster game against Denver, 63. We could see something similar to this. I think we're going to have some value as well. DJ Augustin is 3,400. He should play a few more minutes here. Played 21 against Denver, 13 fantasy points. But some value I think that we could look at. But we're going to want a piece of this game. So honestly, I might have to give Diallo the boot and throw Middleton in this lineup. If we're not going to have no Drew Holiday, I forgot to mention him. He's going to be out a few games here. We can definitely look at Middleton. Again, I think it's a fantastic tag on FanDuel. Love that price tag on him. Same, Giannis is going to go up as well with, not having Drew out there as well. DiVincenzo we can look at, 4,700 on FanDuel. 5,200 on DraftKings. Another guy that we can look at. Put up 35 and 31 minutes. Going to be shooting a little bit more. I still prefer Middleton, but I don't care if you want to go that route. And if you want to finish this lineup and put like a DJ Augustin in here, I'm fine with that. He's going to play. We got Brian Forms as well. 26 minutes, put up 23 fantasy points. He makes an interesting tournament play on both FanDuel and DraftKings. So if you want to play Forbes in here, I have no problem doing that. Middleton could run point a lot as well. So if you want to throw one of Forbes or Augustin in this lineup, I think it's a good lineup. Or if you don't want to play Sato and you want to play maybe Forbes and give a little bit more money to play somebody else, I think that's a way to go. But I really like this build where we're looking at a Harden, Sabonis, Middleton as kind of building blocks around it. Because, again, with no Drew Holiday out there, we should see a good game against Phoenix here. On the Phoenix side, though, let's jump over there real quick. I think with Chris Paul being questionable, if Paul is out, Booker 8,100 on DraftKings, a little expensive, but I would want to try to find a way to get him in here, move some things around. Again, you're going to play these studs and duds kind of type of lineups. It's a hard matchup, but again, Milwaukee's beat by threes, and that is what Booker does. Booker is a scorer. 7,700 on FanDuel. We got to have this news, though, because if Paul plays, I think I prefer Paul on FanDuel at 7,400 and 7,400 on DraftKings, and I don't want to play Booker at all. If Paul is out, I think I want Booker in this lineup to run back with my Middleton. All these other guys I really don't want. I don't want any Mikal Bridges. Frank the Tank, no thank you. Ayton against Milwaukee inside, I don't want it. We're going to need the news here. And I think, again, if we get Paul in, I don't mind running him as my run back here against Milwaukee. So those are the two guys I'm looking at, and that's the news that we need. So again, here's a quick rundown on DraftKings. I'm going to pull FanDuel up real quick. I did mention in the beginning of this that I wanted to do a sample build for you guys on FanDuel because I was getting that feedback, and I want to provide value for you guys. So if there's something like that, just leave it in the comments. Hit that like button, subscribe as well, man. Really appreciate it if you do. Turn that notification bell so you know when I upload these. And if you got any, there's something request that you want like this, I will do my best to accommodate. So again, we'll build a quick FanDuel lineup here just to kind of see where we're sitting at. Again, I think it's early, so it's just like on DraftKings. We'll kind of have to figure things out. But I think what we're going to start with here, and like I mentioned it, I think at shooting guard, we're going to start with Harden. I know it's going against Minnesota. Again, you're going to play a lot of stars and scrubs in these lineups. And I think we're going to start with Luka. Again, there's a lot of studs here, but you're probably on FanDuel. Generally, I start with two studs because it's such a soft site to play on. And then I mentioned it as well. We had a ton of Bulls value, right? So I think you're going to get a lot of Patrick Williams in your life. Now, again, this is more like a cash build than a tournament build. So Patrick Williams is going to be in there. Valentine is going to be in there at 4,400. Again, they just open things up. I think the matchup is good against the Pelicans, so I don't mind playing those guys at price if it allows you to get a Luka and a Harden. Not saying you got to go that route, but I think it's the way to go. Again, OKC is going to be shorthanded, so we can look at guys like Roby. I think that's a guy you can kind of slide in and think about power forward where we don't have to go some of these other guys. I want to see if we can get in Chris Middleton at 7,600 at that price. I'm going to throw him in this lineup as well as the pairing with Valentine. We kind of have the money to get there. I just think that it's too good of a tag. If you don't like Valentine, you can look at a Will Barton at 5,400 for 1,000 more. We'll kind of have to see where we're at here, but I think this is a good start to a FanDuel build. Just with the value in Chicago, you're going to want to play a couple studs. That second point guard position could be a little bit difficult on how you want to do it because I think there's a couple ways to go here. I think at price, you're either going to look at a Kobe White, you're going to look at a Brogdon, or Diallo. I think those are your three decisions that you're going to make. White is 5,600, Diallo is 6,500, and Brogdon is 7,200. At your second shooting guard position, I think what you're going to do is look at a Kevin Huerter at 5K. Again, we have 5,700 average left on this build. So you're going to look at, to me, like a Kevin Huerter, and Eric Bledsoe at 5,100, Sexton at 6,600. I don't think we're going to have the money to get up to a Levine, even though I'd like to play him. I don't think we'll have the money to do it. Or DiVincenzo at 4,700. I think he's a great plug in here as well. And in tournaments, Norman Powell makes sense if we don't have no OG Anunoby. That is someone that we could look at as well. And then again, at the same kind of price point at center, what you're probably going to be end up looking at in this range, and this is like Steven Adams at 5,200, a Zeller at 5,200, Al Horford at 6,200, Joe Val at 7,200. That's where your range is going to be at in a build like this. But I think this is going to be kind of a good starting spot for your FanDuel builds, and make those hard decisions and kind of play around with it. But this would probably be early morning core for me in a FanDuel build, on more of a cash build, because you can always make a case to fade a chalky Valentine or Patrick Williams. So I'm not saying slam him in every lineup, but if you're going to try to fit a Luka and a Harden in, you're going to have some cheap pieces, and this is probably the pieces you want. And again, with no Drew Holiday, I love this tag on Middleton. He has just massive upside. And again, if the game gets out of control with the Lakers, Roby's still going to play a ton, so I like that tag as well. So with that, I hope it helps you. Hope you appreciate this little FanDuel build at the end as we talk through pricing. Maybe kind of get your head right and it'll start your day off right. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for stopping by and listening to the NBA First Look podcast. And if you're not a DFS Army member, head on over there, sign up using promo code CashCake, save 10%. I will be on sheets tonight. I'll have my MME percentages in there as well, and we'll be answering questions all the way up until lock. Again, appreciate each and every one of you. See you on the flip side. Deuces.